Hi, Steph. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. I'm going to jump in straight in with my first question, but just to anyone that's watching live, if you've got any questions for Steph as we're chatting, please pop them in the comment box. I'll be monitoring that as well, and hopefully we're going to get those questions answered as well. One of the learners on one of our courses already sent a question in. They just wanted to know what it is you do. So I'll let you explain what your job title is and what that actually means, if that's all right, Steph.
Okay, so I'm an art therapist, or that's also known as an art psychotherapist. And basically what we do is a little bit like talking therapy or counselling, but with the added kind of communication tool of art making. So if someone finds it a bit tough to say out loud what they're feeling and thinking, or just doesn't know how to put it into words, then this could be a really good sort of less threatening way of talking to someone about your problems. So I see young people, adults, children on a one-to-one basis. Previously did it in groups as well. And I work from a little counselling centre in Folkestone. But I have worked in schools and a place called CAMS as well for the NHS, which is a child and adolescent mental health service. And yeah, it's it's a very fulfilling career, I guess.
How long have you been doing this particular role?
So I graduated in 2014. So where's that? It's about 8 years.
Oh, no,
is it?
My maths is terrible. You're right.
Yeah, so about that long. So up until last year, I was working for the NHS, and I've been going self-employed and doing private work since then.
Okay. And was this something you always wanted to do?
Yes. So when I was 16 and choosing my A-level choices, and you can get into art therapy in a different way as well, I really didn't know what to do. And I had a careers advisor at the time who just said, what do you enjoy and what are you good at? And so art and helping people was what I wanted to do. And art therapy seemed like a good choice. So I went off and did my A-levels and my art course and various things, but then went off on a bit of a tangent. So like with most people, my eyes got swayed by other things. So I went off and did a jewelry design course in between, and then worked for a place called Connections doing careers guidance and things. But I still had this kind of pull back to the art therapy. So I got there in the end, but it was a bit of a windy journey.
This is something that's come up a few times, even with my own story about it's not always a straight line to get to where you wanted to be. But I found, and I was going to ask you the same question, those other things that you did they help you in your eventual role?
Definitely. It was all the work experience that I needed to get a place on the course for art therapy. So I didn't realise it at the time, but actually doing all those jobs and working with different people and doing my art, it all counted towards the criteria to get me on the course. And I think I also got a lot of life experience which they want you to have on the course, because you can't really help other people unless you've had difficult life experiences and tried different things. So yeah, you're exactly right. It's a journey, but you usually end up where you want to be in the end.
Yeah. So my next question was going to be, can you describe the journey, describe the journey you took? So you mentioned that you did your A-levels, you went on to do a course in goldsmithing, and I think you covered it. Was there anything missing? Was there other things you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, so I guess I just think it's important to know that if you don't go down the kind of classic academic routes to get into art therapy, there are lots of different ways of doing it. I personally did my art A-level and health and social care GMVQ, and then went on to do a year's diploma in art and design. Then went off to do my jewelry goldsmithing degree. Then went off to do a job for Connections. Then worked in a children's residential care home for a while. And then went on got to do the art therapy masters in the end. So yeah, it has been quite a journey. There's been lots of other jobs in between.
Yeah. So I'm going to skip a couple of questions and come back to them. But based on what you just said there, you mentioned that you did a master's in art therapy. So is that a requirement? Is that what you have to be a qualified art therapist?
Yeah, so that is the what you need to go on the Healthcare Professionals Council, and what you need to be an art therapist. But don't be put off by the qualification masters, because it sounds quite scary, but it's actually not a very academic course. You know, there are written elements, but a lot of it's very practical. And a lot of it is kind of experiencing what it's like to be in art therapy yourself, and a group. So yeah.
So did you need to have a degree before you could do the masters?
Yes, but you can have equivalent kind of qualifications, and there was a really wide range of qualifications that people had on my course. So we had ex-veterans, so ex-soldiers, we had nurses, we had people that had done psychology at university. So I think as long as you've got an interest in art making and some kind of relevant experience in I don't know, working with people or a group of people, then you would be considered. I think don't panic too much if you don't want to go down a classic degree route, because I think they would check out the different universities and see what the eligibility criteria is, and it may be slightly different for each one.
Cool. So yeah, that was my next question. What are there any specific qualifications? But obviously it can be different depending on where you're applying, and they can look at experience alongside qualifications as well.
Yeah, exactly that. And you have to demonstrate your interest in art making. So the university I went to wanted a portfolio of work, which I had to take to the interview and show, and that was just as important as, you know, qualifications and experience. It also helps if you've had some previous experience of counselling yourself or personal therapy. They want you to kind of be starting to get to know yourself and your strengths and your weaknesses, and start to work through any problems that might otherwise kind of get in the way of you doing work with other people, because it can bring up some difficult stuff for yourself as well.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And I'm often telling, especially our learners that are on our creative craft courses, your portfolio can count for more than your qualifications, especially when you're going into creative. I know when I went for my interview for our degree, I got accepted based on my portfolio. It didn't matter whether I passed or failed my A-levels. The portfolio was strong enough, and that's what they were interested in. So it's reassuring to hear that other career paths as well will say the same. So that's good to know. Because obviously a lot of people don't necessarily do well under pressure with exams and things like that.
No.
I'd say.
Yeah, and quite interestingly, there's a really high percentage of art therapists that are dyslexic. For some reason. I don't know if it's because the left-hand side of the brain works better, but there's a really high percentage of people that just aren't that academic or struggle with writing and reading. So yeah, don't be put off.
We had the same in when I was teaching DT. Most of the DT and art teachers were dyslexic, myself included, because the different parts of your brain are stronger and more dominant, and it's not that you're lesser, it's just that your brain works in a different way. So
exactly.
it shouldn't be seen as a bad thing. It's just your brain working better. So what would you say is the best part of your job?
I think it's the relationships I develop with people. So obviously I don't expect people to come in on their first session and trust me and open up and make the artwork they want to make. But I think over time and seeing the progress that people make in therapy is really, well, it's quite selfish, but I find it really satisfying. And just have that human contact with people and enjoy, them making artwork and stuff is really satisfying. Yeah.
It must be nice seeing them go on that journey as well. And well, it's working with people, isn't it? Helping people.
Yeah. And I think it's important to acknowledge that actually from working with people, it does something for yourself as well.
Yeah. What would you say is the worst part of your job?
Ooh. Probably admin. So I think with any job, particularly with CAMS, there was lots of paper filling out, and it just used to take lots of time, and quite often would be in meetings or doing paperwork and thinking, actually, I'd rather be doing some work with people rather than doing that. But it's a necessary part of the job, I guess.
Yeah, it's a common theme that's coming up, especially with creative jobs. It's the the paperwork and admin tasks that are attached to it.
Yeah,
Necessary to get the good stuff, unfortunately.
indeed.
What would you say has been the biggest challenge you've had to overcome, whether it's personally, academically, to get to the point you're at now?
I think, to be honest, it was probably juggling everything. So when I was doing my master's, I was also doing a part-time job. I was also having to undergo counselling as part of the course as well. So attending my personal therapy and going up to London 2 or 3 times a week. So it was managing finances and managing my personal time. I felt very worn out at times. So it was really important to try and get some kind of work-life balance and remind myself that it wasn't forever.
Yeah. Do you think, because obviously you mentioned you're self-employed now, do you think that challenging time of having to juggle everything and manage your finances, did that help you to now establish yourself as self-employed?
Definitely. I was quite unusual because normally you have one work placement at a time, but I had 2 running side by side because I was working as well. And yeah, it did prepare me for now working in various different places and being able to manage my time. And so, yeah, it was hard at the time, but I'm better prepared now and able to do it better.
And another example of everything happens for a reason, and that journey you're going on will help you at your final destination. If it's your final destination, who knows what you could be doing?
Yeah, exactly.
So if you weren't an art therapist, what do you think you would have done instead?
Oh gosh, that's a good question. I think probably counselling or therapy of some sort, I mean, if I could make a living just doing art making, then I would have done that, or the joy making or something. But I think I'd miss that human kind of contact so much. So something in the same field, I think.
Yeah. Helping people.
Yeah.
And what advice would you give to any young person who was perhaps considering a career either in art therapy or counselling?
I think just do your research. So maybe go on the National Citizen Service website and find out some of the universities that are offering the course, and just look ahead and see what their kind of criteria is. And it kind of give you a bit of direction as to where you need to go next. And yeah, just get advice and just look at all the different routes really, because I was only ever told that I needed to get A levels and a degree to get in, but knowing what I know now, I could have done it a less traditional route and gone to college, got an NVQ and done everything a bit quicker. So
so sorry. It was bound to happen, wasn't it?
It was. We did well.
Lovely. I was just going to show some pictures quickly. I've got a horrible feeling that's a building delivery for me. So someone's going to knock on the door next.
Oh yeah.
But I'm going to try my best and share my screen to show you, or share some images that you shared with us. And perhaps if you could just talk us through. If I do disappear for a second, feel free to carry on chatting. What's the first image we're looking at here?
So this is also a good website to check out. When you qualify as an art therapist, or even when you're training, you can become a member of the British Association of Art Therapists. And basically, you can go on there now if you want to. It's www.baat.org, and there's information about how to become an art therapist, about the training courses that are on offer. You can hear from other people that have been through art therapy and their experiences. There's some videos on there that people talk you through their journey, and they show some of the images that they've made. And it's just a really good support network when you're training and when you've qualified. There's other art therapists on there that you can connect with. There's journals and research articles you can read about. There's groups that you can join. If you're in private practice like me, there's lots of information about becoming self-employed, and if you've got need any help, there's like legal advice on there. So it's really worth checking out.
Nice resource then. What's this image here?
This is just an example of an art therapy room setup. So it can vary widely depending on where you are, but my room's quite similar. And you know, it's meant to be quite informal. So you just help yourself to materials. If you feel more comfortable, the art therapist will draw alongside you, or just simply sit and create a safe space for you. So no one will be coming in and out of the room. It'll be completely safe. And your artwork's kept confidential, as well as everything else that you talk about. So the only time I'd share anything that was made was in supervision, or with parents if there was any risk concerns. Other than that, the art materials and the art pieces would be kept locked away in between sessions, and then a young person or adult gets to choose whether they take them home at the final session. So just to show you roughly what to expect, really.
Yeah. So are these examples of...
Yeah, these are just examples off the internet. I'm not allowed to show my clients examples without their consent, but it can vary widely what people make and the materials used. The basic principle is that you don't have to make this amazing, beautiful, accurate piece of artwork. It's not about it being good. It's just about it feeling good.
Yeah.
So it's just coming in and giving it a go. Try not to come in with an idea of what you're going to make, but just see what comes out. It'll often surprise you. And this is just another example. So collage, pastels. And the idea is that I'm trained to help you both use the art materials if you don't know how to, but also to help talk you through stuff if some difficult stuff comes up.
Lovely. Well, that was all my questions. So I'm just going to ask. I can see people watching and likes, but no comments as yet. So I'm just going to give a last opportunity. If anyone does want to ask a question, now's the time to say. There's always a bit of a delay on the live, so I'll give them a minute or so. But yeah, I feel like I've learned something today. So I kind of had an idea of what art therapy was, and it's something that it's cropped up on my radar as an interest. Again, working creatively and working to help young people, it kind of makes sense. But we've gone in different directions with it. But yeah, it's fascinating. And I think it's something, you know, you see colour, you know, mindfulness colouring and stuff like that. Is people are becoming more aware of how we can use creativity to help us with our emotions and our mental well-being.
Definitely. And it's actually been used since, you know, World War II. You know, it started in the 1940s when the soldiers came back from war and really struggled with trauma and things that they'd seen. They set up these art studios, and that's how art therapy started. So I think it's
as far as then.
Yeah. And it's just grown since then. It's just because it's less traditional and the evidence base is not so big at the moment. A lot of people have written about it. It's not a classically NHS recommended treatment, but for some people it can be really helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. Was there anything you wanted to add or information you think we should know, or especially young people that I think this is a career path that some of our viewers are probably quite interested in? Is there any other advice or tips or guidance you could give?
I think just keep up your own art practice. Keep, you know, making, even if it's just for your own enjoyment. I think that's really important. I think, just keep checking advice around what you need to do going forwards, what you might need to work towards. And, you know, if anyone wants to ask me anything privately in an email, that I'm more than happy to answer that. Art therapy is a bit tricky because you can't really shadow or do work experience because obviously of the confidential nature of the sessions, but we can kind of talk you through what happens and, you know, go from there. I guess it's, you know, thinking about what type of group of people you might want to work with. You can change, but I used to think I'd want to work with adults, but actually now I'm working with adolescents and children, and it's not until you've tried it that you work out what you want to do and what you prefer. I think that's about it, really. Just keep reaching out to people and asking questions that you need to.
Yeah. So you said you're based in Folkestone. I can hear the seagulls in the background. That was a giveaway.
Yes.
Actually wanting to get in touch to perhaps make use of your services, what's the best way of getting hold of you?
So I can put my email address. Should I put it on the chat, or can I give it to you?
You can do, yeah, or I can pop it once we come off live. I can add it into the description. So if you're happy for us to put that out, I can put that out.
More than fine. Yeah, that would be great.
And then if anyone has got any questions, they can ask you directly as well. Awesome.
Fantastic.
That's lovely. It's really generous of you. Thank you, Steph.
No, it's been a pleasure.
We've got no questions, so we're going to leave it there. But as Steph has offered, if you do have questions or you're watching this retrospectively, obviously we can ask them after the event. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.